This is one of the worst family tragedies I've ever heard of. It's a story about what many people consider to be the ultimate modern family. It includes fraud, tragically terrible decisions, and how social media often doesn't reflect your real life. And this story reaches to the highest and lowest depths of humanity. This is the story of the Hart family. This is Jennifer and Sarah Hart. They are a married couple who live in Minnesota. In 2006, they adopted 3 biological siblings, Abigail, Hannah, and Marcus. Then 2 years later, in 2008, they adopted 3 additional biological siblings, Sierra, Devante, and Jeremiah. Now, the Harts weren't wealthy. Sarah worked as a manager in a department store, and Jennifer worked odd jobs and wound up becoming a stay-at-home mom in 2006. And they also received funds from the state of Texas, which accounted for 50% of their income. But money can't buy you love. And love seemed to be something that they were abundant in. So Jennifer was very active on social media. And she often used Facebook to share photos of her beautiful children, her thoughts on race, politics, and share the trips that they went on. And honestly, her Facebook photos were beautiful. I mean, look at this, and pause to read. Exhibit B. So her Facebook profile was curated to make it look like they lived in a Garden of Eden, cottagecore fantasy dream. Another large part of her content on her social media were all the festivals they attended. And I mean like a big part of their life. Jennifer and Sarah also seemed to align themselves with a progressive political opinion as well. And the family would always spread the same message of unity and equality everywhere they went. The Hart family left a big impression on people for a number of reasons. Not only was it an incredibly unique family situation, it was a beautiful LGBTQ couple who had adopted 2 sets of siblings with troubled pasts, but they also seemed incredibly happy. During their time at festivals and protests, Devante Hart revealed that his ability to connect with people was exceptional. He consistently made a positive impact on people he met. And he started carrying around a sign that said "Free Hugs" as a campaign to help spread love throughout the world. So the combination of the Harts' unique family situation, social media, their involvement in the protest scene actually started giving them some notoriety, which resulted in this picture and where the story takes a dark turn, which I'll talk about in part 2. This is one of the worst family tragedies I've ever heard of. Part 2. This is the story of the Hart family. Go ahead and watch part 1 if you haven't already to catch up. As we know, the Hart family were very involved in protest culture. They were attending a protest for Michael Brown, which involved unnecessary violence and a fatal shooting of a police officer against a person of color. And this image was captured of Devante hugging a police officer, and it went viral. This would be known as the hug felt around the world, and it was an iconic symbol of racial harmony. And I'm sure that most people who saw this interpreted Devante's tears as beacons of hope. But in reality, they were actually masking a far darker reality happening at home. So the combination of the hug felt around the world and Jennifer's very emotionally charged Facebook profile started to put them into the spotlight, which is what you'd think they wanted or what the goal was, considering how active they are in the community and on social media. But it turns out they did not want that kind of heat, and so they went radio silent, turned off all their social media, and Jennifer became really active on World of Warcraft, which is where she could share all of her stuff there. Well, it turns out the reason why they didn't want this kind of attention is because they're terrible people, and the carefully curated narrative that they controlled of being the ultimate woke family would be revealed as a complete sham. And there's documented evidence of them both neglecting and mistreating all 6 of their children. Just 2 years after they adopted Hannah, right here, a teacher noticed bruises on her arms. Authorities were called. They admitted to spanking her. Sarah took responsibility for it. She pled guilty, and she was sentenced to 1 year of community service. Turns out that they were fostering a 15-year-old girl before this. They dropped her off at a therapy appointment and just never came back for her. And Sierra, Jeremiah, and Devontae's biological aunt was fighting to get custody, but the powers that be continued to insist that the Harts were a better fit for them. And it turns out that despite having a fully stocked fridge and plenty of food to eat off of their farmland, they weren't feeding their children. It was all a lie. In 2017, Hannah jumped out of her second-story window to beg her next-door neighbors for some food. Devontae did the same thing a few months later. CPS was called on the Harts and they disappeared. March 26th of 2018, the family's Suburban was found at the bottom of this cliff. And the Hart family was inside, and nobody survived. Devontae's body was never found. The kids all had Benadryl in their system. This family of 8 is gone forever, and one of the most evil family tragedies I've ever heard.